The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, we'll hear about the birth and birthday party for Valley Free Radio as they celebrate their 20th year.
And Congressman Jim McGovern talks about the Bay State gift that may just give more congressional seats in some contested arenas as we get into the many gerrymandering issues that have arisen.
But first, in Gill, a collection of inspired musicians gather each year for workshops and performances on a beautiful hilltop, leveraging the power of music as a catalyst for transformation and community health. Antenna Cloud Farm has established itself as an arts-centered ecosystem and cultural hub that focuses on presenting world-class, vision-based live programming.
The Antenna Cloud Farm also hosts the Experimental Institute, a radical and holistic educational program prioritizing cultural advocacy and artistic excellence through decolonized curriculum and musical practice.
I like to call it a liberatory as opposed to a conservatory.
There we go.
Though other events are peppered through the year, Antenna Cloud Farm's 2025 season begins its full swing this weekend with performances by duo Yumeno, a collaboration which explores the dialogue between classical Japanese and Western music, captivating audiences around the world from Carnegie Hall and the UN to several UNESCO World Heritage Sites in Japan.
With us today to talk about the season's performances is Antenna Cloud Farm founder Michi Wiancko and koto shamisen player and singer Yoko Reka no Kimura and cellist Hikaru Tamaki, who together are duo Yumeno. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
There is a whole koto in the studio.
Yeah, there is a koto.
A whole big old koto.
What is a koto for those who may not be familiar with this instrument? Who wants to take that one?
Koto is a very popular instrument in Japan, and it has over 1,000 years history.
Wow.
Yes.
The music for it is amazing when you get to see the sheet music for koto. It's so beautiful.
It's like 2 times the size of a coffee table, but half of the width.
6 feet long, I think. And
Yes.
13 movable bridges.
Wow.
And strings.
And not as big as they come, because the 17-string ones are huge.
Yes,
Look who
yes.
knows stuff.
But this is the portable koto?
Koto is not so portable.
We managed to get it here.
Manageable.
And you have a cello, which we know well.
Yes, this is the just the original, ordinary cello.
There's always room for cello, I like to
This
say.
is true.
Yeah.
This is true. It's wonderful.
Well, do we want to start out with a song and then get into our chat?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's hear from the group that is playing to kick off Antenna Cloud Farm's summer season this Saturday in Gill, up in Gill, duo Yumeno. That is the beautiful sounds of duo Yumeno, who are playing Antenna Cloud Farm in Gill this Saturday. That was Yoko Reikano Kimura on the koto and Hikaru Tamaki on the cello.
I love koto so much. There's such dynamic in it. It's so cool. Michi, talk to us about bringing this group to Antenna Cloud Farm and some of the other that we can see at the festival.
Yes. Well, I've been trying to get them here for a couple years now, so this is awesome. And I've actually known Yoko for quite a while. She was a featured artist in an opera that I wrote called Murasaki's Moon, based on the 1,000-year-old novel Tale of Genji, which we premiered at the Metropolitan Museum of Art way back a few years ago. And she's simply the best at what she does. She's very highly in demand, so we're really honored to have them both here. And this duo, I think, is so innovative. It's exactly what Antenna Cloud Farm is really excited about, like a really innovation, something that doesn't fit squarely into one genre, but kind of exists at the seams and the fissures between things. So they're really innovating. They've both commissioned so many composers to write brand new works, and also I think their relationship to traditional Japanese music is also quite special too. So very, very, very glad to have them here.
Now, Yoko is tuning the koto, so we're going to have Hikaru on the cello be sort of the spokesperson for duo Yumeno.
Sure.
You become cultural ambassadors in some ways of Japanese culture and music, going all over the world, playing this type of music. Tell us how the cello fits into the world of the koto in the music and culture of Japan.
Well, you may say that cello is also a Japanese instrument because it's been in Japan for many centuries now, and many Japanese composers has written music for cello. So I try to feature much of those repertoire as possible at these concerts, sort of representing Japanese culture through cello music, and the blending of the two instruments, of course. Immediately, puts the cello into the realm of Japanese music. So, I don't really think in terms of, this is a Western instrument, that's a Japanese instrument, but we just make something new together.
But you blend both koto and cello and shamisen and shinkansen. Wait, no, that's a train.
That'll be very innovative.
Still impressive.
Yes. Put cellos on the train. And shamisen and cello, how different are the compositions that you write for the two different instruments to blend with the one that you use?
Well, I think koto and cello is a very natural fit, I would say. And shamisen, she didn't bring the instrument today, but it's quite... has a very strong personality. So it's almost like I need to be, standing on my ground with my cello, and sort of, it's almost like, it's hard to explain, but it's challenging. But there are some, really interesting pieces that we've commissioned, and I think that works very well as well.
Yoko's got the koto tuned now, it seems like. Explain to us what the shamisen is, if people aren't familiar with that instrument.
Shamisen is a very unique instrument because there are two aspects in one instrument. So very guitar-like string aspect, and also taiko-like percussive element. Yes, so shamisen is quite something. She's a very character, and it's very delicate instrument because of the humidity and the hotness and sometimes lighting. Their conditions become very different. So it's almost like my baby, so I have to be careful, right, to be far
Don't
from
leave
home.
the baby in the car. We
Yes.
learn about all this stuff all the time.
Yes, so true. Yeah.
But in Gill, it's like 10 degrees cooler than in downtown Turner's Falls, so maybe that's better climate for the shamisen.
There's weather going on up there. It's windy. You get like blown over by like 80 to 80 mile per hour winds.
I think we've covered this a little bit before, but tell us about the origins of Antenna Cloud Farm.
Antenna Cloud Farm began casually in 2017 as a way of us sort of bringing friends who we missed to where our new place of living in Gill, Massachusetts. We're like, we thought that people could come and get out of the cities, get out of Boston, New York, have a beautiful space to be in retreat, play for some friends around in the neighborhood. And it just blossomed into this big public-facing thing. We now have artists come up who we don't know already, people who are asking to play there. And so I guess in a couple years will be our 10-year anniversary. And artists come up from all over the place now, all over the country, sometimes the world. We feature multicultural artists who are diverse in every sense in terms of like the style that they play, how they learned the instrument, the role that they play in their communities. The through line is that we feature artists who are very community minded, or globally oriented, and are doing work in their own communities and in communities all over the country and oftentimes the world, to bring awareness to environmental causes, social justice initiatives, all kinds of things. I can't even begin to list the amazing stuff that our artists do out in the world. So we like to support people who are out there just trying to make the world a better, safer place.
I noticed on your website for this particular concert that on Saturday, after each performance, because there's two, there's a special reception, possibly involving bento.
It will not be bento. I'm so sorry.
That
Please,
is okay.
Especially now that I know you're like a Japanese connoisseur. There will be snacks. There will be Japanese snacks, special rice crackers, special sweets, and some fun little things at the reception.
Although I have had bento at Antenna Cloud Farm.
And there will be bento again, I promise you.
It's okay if it's not this time. I feel a little embarrassing. Most of what I know about Koto comes from the manga Kono Oto Tomare, but which is a really fascinating manga about a koto club at a high school, and it's really interesting. And like some groups have come and made recordings of the pieces that they talk about in the manga, and it's a whole thing. I am a giant otaku, and I'm sorry.
Gosh, I'm literally bringing you a bento box next time I go to the studio. I'm not even joking.
And that is Michi Wiancko, one of the founders of Antenna Cloud Farm in Gill. And because I'm Michi's hype man, I'll also say who is part of the Yo-Yo Ma founded, Rhiannon Giddens now led Silk Road Ensemble, is the first chair violin concert mistress of the Nero Orchestra, a composer, a conservatory-trained musician, and also played first violin for Gamera versus Giron at the Shea Cinema Storm, where we did, speaking of Japanese culture, the live kaiju with Gamera, Friend of Children, which was a really fun event a couple months ago. Well, why don't we take a little break?
Yeah.
We'll come back. We'll hear some more from the duo who will kick off the summer season at Antenna Cloud Farm up on that hill in Gill this Saturday. Duo Yumeno next.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Eastworks, 4 floors of makers, artists, and entrepreneurs located in the Mill District in East Hampton, where community happens. Learn more at eastworks.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We are here with the group duo Yumeno, who is part of Antenna Cloud Farm's performance this Saturday. 2 concerts, one at 2 and one at 6 at Antenna Cloud Farm in Gill. We are also joined by one of the founders of Antenna Cloud Farm, Michi Wiancko.
We were talking while the break was happening about that manga that I brought up, Kono Tomare.
Manga is, for people who don't know,
manga is comic books.
Yes.
In Japanese.
As opposed to anime, which is
animation, animated cartoon series, often on TV. sometimes not. Sometimes it just comes direct to video.
Sometimes based on the manga, sometimes not.
Yes. But you have, Yoko, you have a connection to this manga, which is amazing.
Yes, the author is my friend's sister.
So wait a minute, are you the one who's featured in the manga then?
No, but
I'm not sure.
because it's high school students. So
Yeah, but my friend, she's really amazing koto musician, and she composed for the theme music for manga. Yeah.
which is so cool. Like, there's real music for this manga series, and it's so good. Like, I can't get into it.
I bet if we read it, Yoko, we're gonna find you somewhere in there. We're gonna be I bet this character is based on Yoko. I'm curious about when you take this music, which in some ways is a hybrid of contemporary and traditional Japanese music, to places like Istanbul. What's the reaction of the audiences there to this type of music that may or may not resonate with their own traditional music and heritage? How do they receive that? Hikaru?
Istanbul is probably a good example. A lot of these communities that were often invited are already interested in Japanese culture, I would say. A lot of South American countries as well. There's a big interest in, mainly through like anime and manga, but just they are very curious about Japanese culture. And when we play Japanese instruments and Japanese music, they tend to respond very respectfully, and often they're very enthusiastic. They just want to hear genuine musical culture, I think. So it's been really amazing playing in these places.
Do you want to explain to us what the name duo? I think people of many languages know what that means, and that's the two of you. But what does Yumeno mean?
So Yumeno means dream of, and it's part of a quote that of a poem that my godfather, who gave my name, Hikaru, he was a Zen priest. And he presented me with a scroll of this poem, and it read in Japanese, "In the land of dreams, not a single cloud exists." So this was right before I went from Japan to the States, and I think he was, trying to, make me realize that, I have this whole life in front of me, and I should pursue my dreams.
I love that. And now you have. You've brought your dream to reality.
And to Gill, which is awesome.
Yeah.
so that we can surprise. Oh, yes.
Unfortunately, your Zen Buddhist uncle, or he said there were no clouds, but there is one cloud. It's antenna cloud, and it's a whole. It's a farm full of them. Well, let's hear another song from duo Yumeno.
Yes, please.
Who are playing Antenna Cloud Farm in Gill this Saturday. 2 concerts at 2 and at 6.
So today I brought a classical piece written for koto.
Nice.
Koto solo. So could you rest a little bit? So the title is Sakuragari, which means cherry blossom viewing, composed by Edo period the blind musician. His name is Yamada Kengyo. The original duration is about 20 minutes. So today I'd like to pick up most beautiful parts.
What year was the Edo period? Or what year was it written?
Edo period started in
16.
Yeah,
16.
Yeah. 16, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. In the middle of Edo period, he composed this piece. Okay. So this is very, very traditional piece.
I love it. That's Yoko Reikano Kimura from duo Yumeno. What does that song translate to loosely? What's the theme of that song lyrically?
Yes, this piece evokes a very beautiful scenery of cherry blossom and under the tree. So everybody says, feels very relaxed, feel peaceful. So the old people, young people, everybody so loves the flower.
I love that. And I felt that through the
Thank you so
music
much.
and the lyrics.
Yay. Okay, so this is one of the first performances that's happening at Antenna Cloud Farm for the 2025 season, but there's more as the month goes on. Michi, can you tell us about some of the other folks that are also going to be coming to Antenna Cloud Farm as it goes along?
And how many of them can we convince you to bring here?
Literally, Monty and Khalees, anytime.
I mean, like,
we're open for that.
We're open.
We're very, very excited about this coming season. There's so many different offerings happening. After Duo Yumeno's concert this Saturday, our next show is on August 19th with this incredible singer, Christopher Dylan Herbert, who's done all kinds of things, from huge operas just all over the world to modern art songs. And so this will be sort of a vocal recital with his collaborator, pianist Chris Reynolds. And then Kinan Azme in City Band. Kinan is a bandmate of mine in Silk Road. And he is world-renowned, just has played all over the globe. He's originally from Syria, and he's a virtuoso clarinetist who also composes and writes all kinds of music from, that kind of blur the lines between Syrian traditional music and jazz fusion and classical, and he's like really a sight to behold. And then we have a big day-long festival on September 7th called Dreaming in Diaspora. This will be a big, joyful klezmer festival led by Rachel Leader, Ariel Shapiro, Richie Barshay, the visual artist Weaver. And every couple weeks, Rachel texts me like, hey, we have a friend who's going to be in town. Can they join the artist roster? And every person who's joining is some next level, like, klezmer person. So now we have Jordan Wax coming and a bunch of other people. It's going to be there's going to be children and family events in the morning and crafting activities and jam sessions and a potluck dinner and all kinds of stuff. So, and then we do have 2 events happening that I have not yet announced. So stay tuned for new stuff happening. One of them being a big concert at the Shea.
I may know about this one, but I
won't
won't say it either.
I am the only person in the dark, and that is okay. I like surprises.
And what a surprise it will be.
Indeed.
Michi Wiancko and the koto player Yoko Reikano Kimura, as well as cellist Hikaru Tamaki, who are part of duo Yumeno, who are playing the first of Antenna Cloud Farm's summer series this Saturday, 2 shows, 2 and 6, at Antenna Cloud Farm in Gill. Thank you all so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us. It's great to
thank
see
you.
This was a delight. This was so cool.
I think we've had a banner like 2 weeks of music. Bang on a Can, Tanglewood.
Like
we've got this. We've got 2 groups coming in tomorrow.
I know.
It's been pretty amazing.
If anybody hates music and listens to this show, I'm really sorry about the programming that we've been doing.
Probably a pretty high level.
Except, we've been bringing in awesome ringers. So soon we'll get to wish a fellow radio station a happy birthday when we speak with Betsy Lancto and Ed Malachowski of Valley Free Radio about their 20th anniversary party.
But first, to redraw or not to redraw? That is the question of a lot of Congress's minds, including the representative for the 2nd Congressional District, Jim McGovern.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Time once again for our weekly conversation with U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts. It wasn't always his district. We'll get to redistricting and gerrymandering because that is the subject of most of our talk today, I think, with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern in a segment we like to call McGoverning with McGovern. Gerrymandering. No, it is not Seinfeld's comedic delivery style, but a suspect form of congressional redistricting made famous first here in the Commonwealth. The word a portmanteau of salamander, and Elbridge Gerry, who at the time of his death was the Vice President of the United States, but was governor of Massachusetts in 1812 and signed a bill that created a partisan district in Boston that was compared to the shape of a salamander. And gerrymandering is the subject of most of the political chatter this week, specifically regarding Texas, where a between the census mid-decade redistricting effort is currently underway, an effort which to even the casual political observer, I think, would seem to be a way to earn Republicans 5 5 more Texas seats in the U.S. House of Representatives in 2026. From Politico, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of your party currently in the House, called Texas's attempt to redistrict an all-hands-on-deck moment for Democrats and showed his support for Democratic governors who are exploring new map options of their own. We'll get a little bit into your take on California Governor Gavin Newsom's rhetoric surrounding that. But first, the Texas Democrats have fled the state of Texas. They're on the run. They were on Beacon Hill with Governor Healy yesterday. Have you met with any of these Texas Democrats? And is this the kind of strategy you think Democrats should be employing?
Well, I haven't met with them, but I'm cheering them on. What Trump is trying to do is rig the election because I think he believes he's going to lose the House if he doesn't. And I think it raises some serious questions about what's his ultimate goal here. And I worry that it's more than just about maintaining control of the House for Republicans, but I'm worried about the next presidential election. And as you know, the House of Representatives has to vote to certify the results of those elections. And you have a Republican Congress that is basically totally obedient to Trump. Who knows what will happen? I mean, look, this is bad for our democracy, and it just stinks to high heaven. But look, as Democrats, I mean, you know, we can't play by one set of rules while they play by another set of rules. And so I support what Governor Newsom is doing. I support what Governor Hochul and Governor Pritzker are doing. If the Republicans want to play this game, well, you know what? We will play it as well. This is bad for our country. It's bad for our democracy. But I don't know what other choice we have. There's too much at stake. And, you know, look what's already happened in a little over 6 months of Trump's term. The big ugly bill is passed. You know, over 15 million people are going to lose their health care. People are going to be thrown off their food assistance. You know, they've invested enormous amounts of money in ICE and provided tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires. I mean, they're turning this country into a tale of two cities. So we have to fight back.
The Haydenville author, David Daly, who's been a guest of our show and who I referenced on last week's show, has 2 excellent books, one of which has to do with gerrymandering specifically, and he has an opinion piece in the Boston Globe saying Democrats can't gerrymander themselves out of their gerrymandering problem. The math doesn't add up. It's a war they almost certainly cannot win. He concludes his opinion piece by saying what the Texas state Democrats are doing by fleeing the state is the kind of good trouble that John Lewis, your friend and mentor, would have suggested, and that is actually more of what should be doing rather than what could happen if Gavin Newsom in California attempts this redistricting and fails. He'll have egg on his face, which would be terrible for Democrats across the country and also for his potential presidential ambitions. What do you think about the good trouble aspect of what the Texas Democrats are doing?
I'm all for good trouble, but I think John Lewis would remind us all that one of the things that Governor Abbott and Trump are doing is ridding Texas of all majority districts. He is disenfranchising the majority of people in Texas who are not white. And, you know, in terms of fleeing the state, I mean, look, I hope cooler heads prevail and they decide to back down. But at some point, you know, the Texas legislators will go back to Texas, or they may be arrested and brought back to Texas to get them a quorum. Who knows? Don't forget, the legislature in Texas didn't pass any bills to help aid those who were terribly affected by the floods that cost so many lives down there as well. I'm not sure that you can keep this going for a year and a half. And I appreciate the good trouble argument that, you know, somehow this is we're taking a higher road here. I just don't know whether at the end of the day that works. But I do know this. We have to fight like hell, and we have to use every tool in the toolbox, and we can't unilaterally disarm. If the new rules are going to be that every midterm election, whoever's in power gets to change everything, well, again, that's a slippery slope.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts, Congressman Jim McGovern, which I mentioned before wasn't originally your district when you entered Congress, but was redistricted in the 2010 census. And we did lose a congressional seat, if I remember correctly, right, in the state of Massachusetts back then. The President of the United States himself has leveled criticism at the state of Massachusetts, saying that we have denied Republicans a district in Massachusetts. The Globe additionally also has kind of broken this down to say why they don't think this is necessarily the case. No county went for Trump in the last election. But there is argument to be made, I think, that even your district is in some ways gerrymandered. Worcester is purple at best. Could be red. That's your hometown. It's where the majority of your population is. If it were not for Northampton and some of the other places in the so-called Happy Valley, the more progressive end of Massachusetts, that you may have a harder time holding on to your seat. What do you make of those accusations from the president that we are denying Republican voters a voice in Congress?
Yeah, well, he's an idiot. I mean, I'm just going to say that plainly. I mean, the bottom line is when I first ran for Congress in 1996, I did have a gerrymandered district, one that was geared toward helping Republicans win a seat, and they did. Peter Blute represented this seat. He defeated long-term incumbent Joe Early. We used to joke that my district was then the Ivy League district. It went from Princeton to Dartmouth, but it included, a lot of Republican towns. The Attleboro's, North Attleboro, highly Republican, and again, it enabled Peter Blute to oust a long-time Democratic incumbent. Geographically, it made no sense. I mean, Worcester had a seacoast at that time, and Dartmouth and Westport. But nonetheless, I gladly represented that district. I won in that district, and I really am grateful to the people who elected me. Redistricting is done based on population. And if you look at the map that's been drawn, it looks like it makes sense. And the reason why Worcester goes all the way out to Northampton is because there's not a lot of people living in the towns between Worcester and Northampton, whereas the Boston districts are much more, compact. But this is all based on population. What doesn't make sense is when you draw districts that are like little tiny snakes that just kind of go around Democratic towns and Democratic areas just to create a Republican district. And by the way, the other danger here with creating districts that are all so consolidated for Republicans or Democrats is it all becomes about a primary and not a general election. And then it becomes a fight to the most kind of extreme elements in the party. That's what you see happening with the Republicans right now. The people winning Republican primaries and then winning seats in Congress are people like the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world. I mean, people who are just incapable of seriously getting about the business of governing. And I don't think that that's good for the country as a whole.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, and Worcester, again, which is not technically part of the fabulous 413 and out of our purview, but our friends and colleagues at WBUR Boston, who also had their federal funding cuts, have a story about how Worcester had cut its overdose deaths in half, and now that these federal cuts are coming through, that is in jeopardy. It talks a lot about, in the article, methadone and some of the support that these methadone vans have brought to people that are addicted to opioids in the city of Worcester, again, your hometown. Is there an effort underway, because so much has been made by Republicans about fentanyl deaths, about overdose deaths, about restoring some of this federal funding, given how successful the federal funding has been in cutting overdose deaths, specifically for this case in your hometown?
Yeah, we have tried to make the case that this funding is essential, that it actually works, and by working it not only helps save lives, but if you're only worried about dollars and cents and costs, it actually saves you money and a whole bunch of other services that would be needed if the fentanyl crisis was totally out of control here. But, their view is, well, if the state wants it, the state can fund it. Or if the city wants it, the city can come up with this money. But federal government, we're cutting back. And here's the maddening thing about that argument. They say on one hand that they want to cut back on spending, but then they pass a tax cut to help multimillionaires and billionaires that basically explodes the deficit. It just doesn't make any sense. Yesterday was the 80th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima. Some of us are making the case that we ought to be talking more seriously about controlling military spending and being more upfront on disarmament and ultimately with the goal of eliminating nuclear weapons. You think about all the money we spend on that, and nobody's talking about cutting back on one bomb or one weapon system. If we could eliminate nuclear weapons, we could invest that in healthcare in this country. We could invest that in education. We could invest that in infrastructure. But Republicans play this game where they, on one hand, want to sound fiscally conservative and responsible when, they spend like drunken sailors on the military, and then they spike up the deficit and the debt through tax cuts for Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. So, we should be investing in things that will save lives. And if there's no federal investment, the states and local communities can't make up the difference.
Changing topics here, Heather Cox Richardson, the acclaimed historian and now star of Tanglewood, who was the narrator for Lincoln Portrait earlier this week, in a missive today, said yesterday Democrats on the House Oversight Committee used a legislative maneuver to force its chair, James Corner, Republican of Kentucky, to issue subpoenas for the Department of Justice records on the Epstein investigation. She continues, along with subpoenas for former government officials connected to the case. Representative Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat of Texas, posted that the DOJ now has 2 weeks weeks to release the files to the committee, she wrote, "It's time to find out who's been protected, who thought they were above the law, and who's been hiding behind power." Do you think that we, as the American public, thanks to this maneuver by House Democrats on the Oversight Committee yesterday, will actually see a semblance of an unredacted version of these Epstein files?
Well, I hope so, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Who's going to enforce the law if the administration, if the Department of Justice chooses not to cooperate? And again, this whole thing is so puzzling to me because if there's really nothing there, then why not just release the files? Trump ran on this issue. His people who supported him ran on this issue. So why not just release the files? But instead, we see Ghislaine Maxwell being transferred to a minimum security prison in Texas after she talks to Trump's lawyer, who's the number 2 at the Justice Department. I mean, it just doesn't smell right. And now we're being told that the FBI has been instructed to redact Trump's name anywhere in the document. One of the things that really disturbs me is it seems that more effort is being given to protect the abuser, in this case, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is an evil person, and nobody seems to want to hear from the victims or to ensure that there's justice that is done for the victims. It's all twisted. But in terms of whether we get the documents or not, I have a feeling that they'll make up a million excuses and they'll drag their feet. And, we're not going to get the documents in 2 weeks.
Also, on the world of SNAP, which is something that is near and dear to both you and to me, making sure people have enough to eat. Plans are already afoot for the next march for the food bank. I met with the food bank yesterday. Some disturbing news from them about the fact that you used to be able to donate $1 to the food bank and they could turn it into 3 meals. But because of the federal cuts, that dollar can now only be stretched to 2 meals. So that'll change our whole math as we fundraise for the food bank. But it does seem that there are some bipartisan changes to SNAP having to do with soda. The governor of Colorado, Jared Polis, who's a Democrat, this week became the first Democrat to join the Trump administration and RFK Jr.'s quest to banish soda from federal food assistance. Where do you stand on soda and SNAP?
Okay, I want everybody to not drink as much soda. But the idea that we're going to put a ban in and limit what struggling families can purchase, I think is a mistake. I think it demonizes people. But, they're going to ban soda, and what's next? Are they going to ban? So that means you can't buy soda for your kid's birthday party? If we're worried about health and well-being and obesity, I got to tell you, that's not just a challenge amongst low-income people. I mean, look at Donald Trump. It's a challenge amongst people who are rich, too. Maybe we should ban soda for people like him, too. Going down that road, it takes everybody's eye off the real problem here, and that is that SNAP is only about $2 per person per meal. That's it. I don't know what the consumption of soda is among SNAP recipients, but people that I talk to right now are more interested in just putting something on the table so that their kids don't go hungry. If you want to further demonize people on SNAP, if you want to further say that people who are poor are the only people who eat unhealthy diets, you can have that debate. But I think it's the wrong debate, and I don't know what's going to be next.
It is worth noting that for this to happen, states would have to ask for a waiver to prohibit soda from SNAP, and that's what Colorado is working towards, and RFK Jr. has hoped that every state would do the same thing. So it's not a unilateral ban across the country for this. Congressman McGovern, what's giving me hope this week is we're off next week, so I'll tell your office that you're off the hook with having to talk to me and me pester you with questions next week. But I'll ask you, what's giving you hope this week, Congressman McGovern?
Well, what gave me hope was last night going to the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima, because there were a lot of people, a lot of thoughtful people who understand that now's the time to kind of rebuild this movement, that we need our elected leaders at every level to start talking about this stuff. And look, I would love to live to see the day where we have a world free from nuclear weapons. I don't know whether I will live that long, but I hope we can get to that point, because if they're used, all these other issues don't matter.
U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts joins us most Thursdays. If you've got a question for the congressman, you can email us at thefab413@nepm.org, and I'll ask him in a fortnight when we're back off of our little mini summer break. Thanks as always, Congressman.
I hope you're going someplace good.
We're going to go to Maine. I'm going to do a little bit of staycating in the valley. You're going to Maine?
I'm going to go to Maine too next week. Yeah.
I'm going this weekend.
I'm going up. Oh, okay.
Where are you going?
I'm going up to a place called Cacadjo, which is near Mount Katahdin. It's way up there. So it's a long drive.
Forget it. I'm going to like a gunkwit. I'm going Seacoast, Maine. That's as far as I want to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're off next week because I don't think I don't get reception where we're going.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Anyway.
Good thinking. All right. Well, we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Onward to celebrating WXOJ Valley Free Radio's 20th birthday and hear more of the station's story with board members Betsy Lancto and Ed Malachowski.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, helping customers make the switch to solar for savings, energy security, and tax incentives. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. The radio community is large in Western Mass, and this weekend, one of our compatriots on the airwaves is celebrating a milestone.
On August 7th, 2005, WXOJ launched onto the local airwaves and started bringing all of us more in contact with our community right here in the 413.
Hey, that's today.
Today! Well, no, it's 20 years ago
20 years ago today. This Saturday, the radio station will celebrate its birthday with a party just around the corner from its station at the Elks Lodge in Northampton, featuring bands, food trucks, and merriment all around.
With us to talk about the history of the station and this super fun party are board members Ed Malachowski, who is one of the biggest music fans in the Valley, a radio DJ, and the greatest food bank volunteer, in my opinion, and board chair Betsy Lancto, who for the longest time pushed our buttons in the other room where Phil Bishop is now pushing those buttons, but has often and frequently been involved with the good work at Valley Free Radio. For those who are not familiar with WXOJ, this low-power FM, to whom are you broadcasting in Florence? Ed?
Well, we are broadcasting from 65 individual programs by our neighbors. And we ended up, as a low-power station in 2001. We have actually an adventurous and kind of radical and even illegal beginnings.
Yes, we heard from activist Claudia Lefko about these beginnings.
Indeed. So Ed Russell, one person, it usually starts with one person, but one person, Ed Russell, was attempting to gain interest in Amy Goodman's program, Democracy Now!, and shopping it around without any success. And he decided to take matters into his own hands, went up to the top of Mount Holyoke with a CD and a laptop, an illegal antenna, threw it over a tree branch, and then blasted it out to the valley unsuspecting at 92.3, and did that for a while. And, people started to actually find it and listen it and request it. And local activists like Frances Crowe, a raging granny and a local legend, she was interested, and they decided that the Mount Holyoke model wasn't sustainable.
Right.
And so they ended up doing
with a CD to illegally broadcast. I wonder why. It's right up Frances Crowe's alley, by the way.
Well,
probably the most arrested person in the history of the Valley.
She decided to do it in her backyard as a pirate radio station. But both Ed and her thought that neither of those were sustainable. So when the FCC decided to offer low-power FM options a couple years later, those same activists got together and put in a request. And, 4 years after that, in 2005, we got our construction permits and our ability to go live. We had a barn raising, and we haven't looked back.
And that now explains what the LP and your call numbers are.
It's
or
not
call
long,
letters.
Not long play.
No.
Like an album.
Nope.
Low power.
Low power.
Yes.
100 watts.
I have wondered long. Thank you for that answer.
And now FCR, which is actually the radio station that you're listening to right now, despite us calling ourselves NEPM, is also responsible in some ways for continuing the history of Democracy Now! On WMUA, which it eventually landed on. So every time, not that I listen to anything other than NEPM, but sometimes when I listen to Democracy Now!, there's a little shout out to WFCR at the end of that every time you hear the Amy Goodman show on that station. So it's an interesting, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to broadcast from the illegal pirate radio station on the top of a mountain.
And where did music come into it? Because if it's starting with activists, but now, and even right now, you're in the middle of a 20-hour jazz marathon to celebrate your birthday. Like, where did music come into it?
Well, we had a variety of syndicated shows and a bunch of local shows, but there were people who were interested in local community radio for the musical side, too. And right now we have 60 individual programmers, 200 or more over the years. And so pretty diverse. From hour to hour, you can go from punk to cowpunk to
Jazz.
everything but opera and polka, I think, are represented.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, Betsy Lancto works for NEPM, and Betsy Lancto was the one who made us fully disclose everything for so long on this show, anytime there was any conflict of interest. And here you are,
And now
a
it's beaten
full-blown
into us.
conflict of interest on this show right now. But this is a fundraiser for Valley Free Radio because it is community-supported, right? This party that'll happen on Saturday the 9th from 4 to 8 at the Northampton Elks.
Yeah, it's a fundraiser, but it's more of a celebration. It's free admission. And just to party it up and celebrate that we've been on air for 20 years, to hear some local, semi-local bands, eat some local cupcakes, all that.
Popsicles.
And popsicles.
Yes.
The cupcakes are free, though, just, you know.
Are you allowing folks who come to the party to see your actual station if they'd like?
Yeah, I'll be doing studio tours for the majority of that time, as well as making sure that the simulcast is happening of the actual event.
Fun.
So, yeah.
And for, we only have a minute or so left, but tell us what you think is the important place that a community radio station like VFR plays in today's semblance of American democracy.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's heavy. Okay, Ed, I'll take that one.
Yep.
Community radio is, oh God, I don't know how to say this. It's just no strings attached opinions, talking it out, being with your neighbor in many cases. It's very local, and sharing what you're passionate about. And I love it when I hear people share what they're passionate about, and therefore I love community radio and Valley Free Radio.
Yeah, I mean, like, community is where it's at, and maybe at the core of this very show as well. Like, your neighbors are where it's at. That's how you build the foundations that will help us survive. I remember years ago, you had like a 6-year-old with a program, which was fascinating.
We have a new one, actually.
You have a
too.
new 6-year-old.
Yeah, a new one. Ground. It's Good Sound Playground, and it's on the weekends in the morning. And he's 6.
The nationally syndicated show Spare the Rock, Spoil the Child got its start at Valley Free Radio, then moved to 93.9 The River, and now gets syndicated all across the country. So
And David Packman.
David Packman, yes, that political commentator from Northampton is from there. And I will just briefly add in the last few seconds we have left, the airwaves are made of light, but they're owned by the public. And we are licensed to use those airwaves responsibly. We here at NEPM, you there at Valley Free Radio. So building community is what we try to do here on this show and what I know you try to do at VFR. And congratulations on 20 years of Valley Free Radio. There's a celebration on Saturday the 9th, 4 to 8, Northampton Elks Lodge, Spring Street in Springfield, with a suggested donation to support them, but music from Shaka Zoba. And one of the bands will be part of Live Music Friday tomorrow on the show, Calliope Jones.
Indeed. Fun times there, because we've got 2 bands on for Live Music Friday. In fact, we're going to hear from them, Calliope Jones and Sierra Fragale, because she's playing in North Adams. We'll also teach you about the Fresh Grass Institute in North Adams, which will serve as a year-round connection to the festival and local music scene. We'll chat with its director, Sue Killam.
And to keep it very near Mass Mocha-centric, we will have the incredible comedian Julio Torres, who is performing at Mass Mocha tomorrow night. He'll be on our show tomorrow. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. We're encouraging you to go learn your community on the airwaves.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Betsy.
Thanks.
Here's to 20 more years of Valley Free Radio.
Yes.